Oh, I can't read it.
Hey guys, so I hope you had a lovely weekend. A trend that we've been seeing not just lately, but for a really long time now is printing. So we were hoping that we could take this 15 minutes to kind of discuss what we've been seeing lately. I remember as an intern seeing a Shapeways machine for the first time printing a shoe right in front of my eyes, and I thought that was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. But really, lately, you can print anything from clothing to houses to even human DNA, which I saw a demo and was kind of floored by. So I kind of wanted to open the floor and hear what you guys had to say about, what are your favorite things that you've seen printed, and whether you think that there's anywhere that the printer should stop, because it really seems kind of like an all powerful machine these days. So kind of open up to thoughts.
Um, so I think when we talked about this a little bit yesterday, something that I immediately thought about was the article that came out. I think it was 2 weeks ago, something like that, where MakerBot is going to be putting out basically new printing materials that mimic the properties of it was limestone and wood and bronze and iron. Um, you know, and something that I've always thought about with 3D printing, and sorry for my voice, something I've always thought about with 3D printing is the fact that um, it's still a toy at the moment, except in certain industrial applications. We've had 3D printing in industry for years, but it's at the consumer at the consumer level. What's going to change on a very fundamental way how it is that people interact with printers is the ability to print things that we look at as everyday tools, and that's going to only come when we have the ability to print, like, real wood or real stone or real metals in a cost efficient and accessible way. And then most interesting to me is the potential combination of materials. I mean, and we've already started, like you mentioned, the DNA printing from, I think it was Cambrian, is that company that you like? But it's the medical applications that I think I've seen first. Did you guys see the cast that they 3D printed that actually reduced the amount of time that it took for the bone to recover? It was
Ah,
that was like almost a year ago, I think, that I saw that, but sort of a lattice work on the arm that they did, and I think that that's like the first step towards a sort of really really functional consumer applications, basically, of 3D printing.
how has anyone ever, who in our group has ever 3D printed something? Because I got really excited, but I've never printed anything. Anyone?
No,
Anyone?
I've never had the chance.
None of us.
Yeah, I
Isn't
mean,
that crazy? We owe it to
at a couple
ourselves.
of conferences, like I
I
had.
haven't printed, but I have a 3D object. 3D
But you
printed.
have what?
I have a 3D printed object, but I haven't.
Oh, you have like the outcome, but you didn't see it made.
Yeah, I've seen them made, but
You've
yeah,
never
I
designed.
didn't model it or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what gets me most excited is because I have all of these terrible or brilliant ideas, depends on who you ask, for products. And, a lot of times, just 5 years ago, I would have had to go to a plastic molding company or silicone molding company to create a prototype. And I think that gets me most excited that it's democratizing inventions for people. And now I can take my spatula or my chicken wing bowl or any of my crazy ideas and actually have them printed into a prototype overnight. And I think that it's kind of closing the gap from idea to product and market. It's kind of shortening that path to creation, which gets me really excited. But I still haven't done it, so maybe it isn't quite as easy or as readily available as
We would like it
as
to be.
mass consumers need for them to actually jump on it and do something.
Well, actually, the founder of Quirky's wife started a company called Normal, which 3D prints custom fit headphones. So she found that there was a really big problem in the marketplace because not everyone's inner ear canal is shaped the same way, and it's bigger, it's smaller, whatever. So she's now printing these headphones. So you can see from not only democratizing invention, but also just enhancing customization in places that it would have been a lot more difficult to kind of have that factorial of different amounts of custom works. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely very cool. And do you think that there is a specific, and just to anybody, does anybody think that there's a specific industry where 3D printing is going to be particularly helpful? I know we mentioned medical, but there's also a lot of kind of controversy around that. So where do you think is the easiest place for printing to expand, and where do you find that they'll have the most challenges?
I don't know if it's the easiest, but some that I've seen being done are actually in food, which I find weird. So we've seen Oreo do it. They 3D printed a portion of it, so they actually weren't 3D printing the cookie. They were 3D printing icing designs on top. So that was at South by Southwest last year, which was cool. I know Hershey's has been doing it with their chocolate. It seems like things that have like a very basic, I don't know what the word is, but the core ingredient that's not too complex can do that, and to Alexa's point, kind of customize things for customers. So I know Oreo was doing it based on trends on Twitter, and so that they could customize different Oreo designs based on what people were talking about on Twitter. The other one that I don't think is the most obvious, but I like thinking about the future is fashion. So we always talk about, like, what if in the future H&M, you just 3D print your outfit from your closet. And we joke because pretty much that cheap material today anyway. But, you know, so you could print out an outfit and then dispose of it or wear it a few times. So I find that fascinating to think about, but I don't know how far in the future that one is.
Yeah, I think anything that people are yearning for customization and personalization. So I don't know that it's going to be any one industry, but even things like auto, where you want little things in your car to be, you know, perfect for you. You know, maybe not travel. Can't really think of a 3D printed.
Well, no, I was reading actually Boeing is 3D printing like parts of the airplane, which at first I was like, oh, that makes me a little nervous. You know, how else do they make them? I don't know. They're probably the same.
We just printed this wing.
Yeah, I'm sure the parts are already so automated that
it's not like anything.
An assembly line versus.
Well, and also those industrial applications of 3D printing. That's actually something that's been going on for decades. But it's like reductive 3D printing as opposed to additive. So you know, you'll take a block of aluminum and essentially print something out of that by taking out pieces from that. Like I had a friend back in Portland who he had a 3D printing company, probably still does as far as I know, that 10 years ago, something like that. And he was super into motorcycles, and what they did actually is they 3D printed parts for motorcycles out of aluminum and titanium and things like that. And they were like I don't know what they're called, a motorcycle expert could tell you better, but they were like the top parts that connect the handlebars, small pieces that go on the sides. So like that's just a piece of it. And at a certain point, like we may be able to just print out a whole, right? Like, why can't I print a bike? Right? I mean, that would be simple enough. And if you have the right materials and you know, a printer that can output that, why not be able to do the whole thing? So I mean, it's something that makes sense. Even on that level, it's just a matter of how cheap we're able to get it and how quickly you know, we can add new materials into the potential of 3D printing.
Well, and how easy are those materials to get? It's like, I probably wouldn't 3D print a bike because I can just walk into Kmart and buy a bike.
Yeah.
And that seems a lot easier. So what I think will be interesting is how 3D printing will kind of disperse. Will we have kind of one 3D printing station like a Shapeways that everyone goes to? Will there be kind of 3D micro communities of 3D printers near you. So, oh, my nearest 3D printer is here, because I don't know that they're ever going to get, I don't know that I'll ever have one in my house unless the cost of the materials, the ease of getting the materials, the smell that comes off from burning the materials is so cheap and so, you know, non-intrusive that it's like, why not? It right now would make more sense to me to go to my local Kinko's and print out something.
But the question is, will the service be better
As
than
good as Kinko's?
as great as
Impossible.
Kinko's?
Yeah, true. That is a pretty crucial question, having recently been to Kinko's.
That's a whole nother Madison and Mountain View. One day you'll tune in and we will dissect the Kinko's business model and why sometimes you show up and they don't have any paper or the printer doesn't work. It's like, you know, showing up to the hospital and they're out of medical supplies. But that's for another day. Today's pretty
It's not a pretty picture.
Yeah.
So we have like a couple minutes left. Does anybody have some last thoughts maybe about the more kind of radical like view of 3D printing, i.e. like printing humans? What do we think about that? Like,
Well, what do you think about that, Liz?
I remember seeing them at demo and hearing kind of the primary investor talk about it, and people had asked him, you know, why did you invest in this kind of company? Because there's so much, you know, controversy surrounding it, and people may never be comfortable with this. And he said that, you know, this is the science of the future, and either you invest in it now and you're on the side of the angels or you're on the side of the devils. And at this point, it's really just a choice between that. It's not a choice about investing. And the founder of Cambrian Genomics, Austin Hines, followed up on that by saying something that I would never forget, which is I think it's a fundamental human right to not just understand your own code, but to be able to change it. And when you put it like that, it's like pretty hard to.
chills.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to like, you know, fight against that, because I think that, you know, everybody wants to understand themselves and everybody wants to be able to personalize. I mean, you know, right down to like, look at Sephora, like the amount of makeup that people can just accumulate in order to personalize their look, like clothes, you name it. Like, why, you know, why not body parts? Like, it sounds insane, but
It reminds me of people now kind of picking the gender of their baby and making that decision, which, you know, ethically a lot of people discuss. But that to me is like the first step, and then there's so many different things that you can change or decide or customize.
Well, when you look at something like what happened this year with Ebola,
Yeah.
you know, what opportunities does 3D printing, you know, in the medical field bring to being able to distribute solutions, vaccines, DNA, en masse? So I'm really excited about it, and if I had any money, I would invest.
yeah, agreed. And like, it's not just cosmetic too. If you're able to change parts about yourself, like imagine like if you were able to change the fact that you could one day be prone to Alzheimer's, like, you know, it could be that important. And so for that reason, I mean, you know, I'm not sure if I would 3D print myself a new nose. You know,
That would be great. I would.
but
We should.
I mean, you know, very
What about I mean, you know, to talk about vaccines, you know, the only issue that I would take with that idea, right, that principle of being able to control who and what we are at the genetic level, is that we could make vaccines, right? We could make solutions, but what about a group of individuals that wants to make a genetic virus, right? What about putting that power in the hands of individuals? We, as from an engineer's mindset, the mindset of a creator, I think there is, throughout history, we've too often had an ability to get tunnel vision about the power of your creation, and thinking about the sort of holistic view of what it is that you're building and how it impacts society, not on the individual level, but on the aggregate societal level. Like, that's something that we so often fail at. as technologists, and that's one of those things that I do worry about, simply because the potential and power of individuals over the last 30, 40 years has increased exponentially. Um, we no longer need armies to wage wars. And what happens when we no longer need armies to launch massive, you know, viral attacks on the world because you happen to, mess with the DNA of Ebola? And we joke, I think, in the office about like getting super Ebola from the subway. And what if somebody decides to make it?
That's
So I know it was kind of mean of me to start talking about this like within the last 2 minutes, because I could literally talk about it forever. But we got to wrap it up because we're a little bit over.
With those deep thoughts from Chris, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
on that happy thought, welcome to the apocalypse. I'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Now that we're all appropriately terrified for a Tuesday morning, we're gonna wrap it up. We will see you next Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.